It's another edition of PENSDOWN. Thanks for joining us once again. Today I have the august presence of the immediate past president of the Ghana Journalists Association. PENSDOWN is the show that brings all the behind-the-scenes issues that journalists grapple with in the line of duty, which do not get reported because news reporting doesn't have space for some of those things. Mr. Affail Monney is the immediate past president of the Ghana Journalists Association. He retired from the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation as director of radio after an illustrious journalism career spanning decades. He holds postgraduate certificates from the School of Information and Communication Studies, University of Ghana, Graduate School of Governance and Leadership, GIMPA, Accra, and the Gami and Gami School of Alternative Dispute Resolution, Accra. He holds two diploma certificates from the Ghana Institute of Journalism and the International Organization of Journalism School, Prague, Czech Republic. I'm very honored to have you on PENSDOWN today, sir.
It's a pleasure.
First of all, I'm sure while you were growing up, there were a lot of professions, some of which had much greater prospects than journalism. Why did you choose journalism for a profession?
In actual fact, my ambition was to become a medical doctor.
Okay.
So I was a science student at Agri Memorial Zion Secondary School.
Okay.
And after secondary school, my heart turned from medicine to journalism.
Wow.
Because once I was in school, I was contributing profusely to the school magazine.
Okay.
And even in my days at so-called Saito Basic School at Emisani Primary School, Abra Emisani Primary School, I was a boy who used to buy newspapers for the family.
Okay.
And before I got to I would cannibalize the whole newspaper and consume everything. And so, in short, I was addicted to reading, especially news and current affairs. Unsurprisingly, I came up tops every time there were exams in current affairs.
Even as a science student?
Yeah, as a science student. And,
wow.
And in Agri Memorial Zion Secondary School, Amosa for short. And form I had a privilege to represent the school in English language competition.
Okay.
And in Form 5 years later, I also had the privilege to represent the school among a couple of boys. And it's started to know that we came up tops.
Wow.
The whole of the Central region.
Wow.
So the way was clear. So when I had challenges with my chemistry particles, but there's no need to worry or to overflog the horse, so to speak. So I quickly jumped on the train of journalism, where I've been since then. So I've been practicing journalism for 42 years now and still count.
42 years.
Yes, and still count.
Will you ever retire? I mean, officially, you have left the working environment, retired. But the way you ended your last statement tells me that the journalist in you is still very much awake. Will you ever retire?
Very much so. Very much so. Just like politics, like priesthood. Journalism is a calling. And once you are called, you don't give up until you answer the heavenly call. So this is how I see journalism. It is not a cash-rich profession. But it's a risk-prone profession. But at the same time, once you are called, you disregard the risks. You are not mindful or making fortunes out of the profession. Yours is to serve journalism. Yours is to be diligent to your profession and dutiful to your listeners, viewers, and readers.
Indeed, it appears you and your contemporaries share similar opinion when it comes to retiring in journalism. I have hosted here Mr. Jonathan Ofeansa, the former editor of the Africa Economic Digest in the UK. He has done, I think, 47 years, and he keeps telling me until maybe he take his last breath, retiring is not something that is on the table. Mr. Francis Kokuche also made a similar pronouncement, and all of you in that bracket have done more than 4 decades. What has kept you going?
This reinforces the common thread which runs through the answers from Kokuche and the other one you mentioned. Reinforces
Jonathan Ofeansa.
Jonathan Ofeansa reinforces the point that journalism is a calling and not an ordinary profession. And our colleague in the longest serving journalist in the whole world is more than 97 years old and still practicing. So we draw huge inspirations from this man and others. And again, in Ghana, we can mention Cameron Dudu, who is in his 80s, still practicing. Elizabeth Ohini, in her 70s, still practicing. And a host of others. So we continue to serve journalism. It's a service to humanity and a service to God. And this is how I see this profession.
Does it pay? Does journalism pay?
I did make reference to the point that it is not a cash-rich profession.
Yes.
It is prone risk profession. But we are not dissuaded by the risks. I, in particular, I've had brushes with all kinds of risks. I've been enveloped in all kinds of dangers, but the good Lord at all times has secured my freedom. And as long as He keeps His hand on me, I'll continue to serve humanity. I'll continue to serve divinity through journalism. And we're also inspired by Gabriel Marquez, the 1982 Nobel Prize winner for literature, who described journalism as the best profession in the world. So the best profession is not medicine, even though it's prestigious. It is not politics,
teaching,
even though it's rewarding. It's not teaching, even though
their reward is in heaven.
Their reward is in heaven. Now they are combining both the earth and the heaven, because they need to enjoy the fruit of their labor on earth while they perpetually enjoy the heavenly bliss. So this is what has shaped my perspective in journalism. This is what has kept it going in the face of formidable odds, the face of difficulties, seemingly insurmountable difficulties. But as I said, I see it as a heaven. I see it as a calling. I see it as a calling from heaven to serve humanity through this profession. And Gabriel Marquez also added spice to this profession by describing it as the best profession in the world.
Take a retrospective look at the years you have garnered under your belt as a journalist and tell me what assignment or set of assignments will stand out as the most challenging for you.
I was fortunate to be selected as presidential correspondent whilst in my early years of practice. In the 80s, when we started journalism, high-profile assignments were reserved for tried and tested, gray-haired, experienced journalists. I was once invited by my boss, the late Ben Saki, so rest in peace. And he said, gentlemen, you've been selected to cover the visit of Muammar Gaddafi to Ghana for the first time.
Wow.
And I remember it was even our director who was covering such assignments.
Oh.
Directors, senior officers were covering that. And we said, we have observed for the past few years since you came. And we feel that you are the right person to answer this assignment. So that's the first time I had encounter with the presidential reporting. I remember at the airport, we got there as usual before the arrival of supposed arrival of Gaddafi. We told us he was to arrive at 11 a.m. to go to the office around 9 and fully armed with our machines and our gadgets and all that. And Gaddafi eventually, his plane eventually touched down around 3 p.m. But this got Rollins infuriated. Wow. Rollins wants to know what kind of friends are we? What kind of friend is he? He gave him 11 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I've been here since then. So we have to wait until Gaddafi came. And throughout the assignments I covered, I realized that it was part of their security strategies. They give you time and they will come at a different time. So from the airport straight away, we drove to the mosque, Abu Sultan Mosque. Okay. And here was I, a young journalist, and then Gaddafi security operatives came and dismantled our machine, recording machine. We have machine, that's a bulky, heavy machine. And I needed the soundbite to do my story. So there was no time to fix the machine. And the impudence was that after dismantling the machine, he did not have the courtesy to fix it. And meanwhile, that some of them about to start, so I had to take down notes copiously. And from Abu Sultan Mosque, we followed him to West of Ghana, the congregator, where I delivered a lecture. And so on my way from Abu Sultan to GBC, I had to do the story handwritten, and I dropped the story at the GBC reception and followed him to University of Ghana, Legon. And from there, I did a story, and from there, he was going to an official banquet at the State House. So from Legon, I had to do the story hurriedly in the car, dropped the story, and went to the banquet hall. And at the banquet hall, we had a telephone landline. So from the banquet hall, in the course of the event, I had to telephone the story to GBC. And that was the beginning of things to follow, such high profile, assignment where your expertise, your experience were all brought to the fore. And in fact, my output satisfied my bosses beyond imagination, and that was the beginning of more exposures. And I thank God that he equipped me to excel at the very first major assignments I had to cover. Since I was attached to the president, I was covering him. And then when he left the scene and the man came, the man came, was had the opportunity to cover him. But there was one incident which is still lodged in my memory. The Nema was to go on a tour of Accra. Okay. We were late. In those days, we were not equipped with 4x4. We didn't have efficient vehicles. Vicky was rickety to put it mildly and simply. So when we got to Bambuma Circle, the circle then wasn't modernized as what we have now. Yeah. And we have 4 routes or more. One going to Accra Central, one going to Kolibo, one going to Achimota and all that. So when we got to Bambuma Circle, we didn't know the route where the man took. So I asked they had cleared the road for security reasons. And the security men were all there, and so I was stuck. And luckily, it rained heavily, and so the assignment was called off. So when I came to the office, that was what saved me, because my head was on the line, on the chopping line. But those days, it was a criminal offense, or offense, which accompanied the firing squad for missing such major. We were the only media house.
That's right.
Media house. So all eyes were on GBC to deliver that assignment, and it was the rains. It was the rain which poured in torrent, which saved my life and saved my profession. And I also had one other nasty experience with President Arap Moi of Kenya.
Okay.
And again, I was selected to cover him. He went to Akosombo. And on our way, our vehicle developed a fault. And I remember the driver called Kumsin. He said Kumsin had to get down, tried as much as possible to fix it. Meanwhile, the convoy had left.
Wow.
So we had to struggle to fix this vehicle. And we managed to get to Peerless. When we got to Peerless, they were then at a dinner, and then we had time to do the story. And straight away from Peerless, I had to dash to GBC to do the story. In those days, because we didn't have this modern gadget, you had to do the story. It was an offense, a very simple offense, to sleep on the story. So I think about that, the journalist, you can sleep on your story. You go to the office, and on countless occasions, we had slept in the office to do stories. So I slept in the office, I did the story. That was the first story for the day and subsequent bulletins.
Wow. These are really, really, really great tests in the line of duty. Sure. I am wondering, the one you had to wait for Colonel Muammar Gaddafi for so many hours. Obviously, you were within a restricted security environment while you were waiting. Sure. Did it even occur to you maybe you want to visit the washroom or something, or nothing like that came? You were just too focused.
Not at all. The invitation to even visit the washroom did not come. So that's the point. We have to respond to such calls, and that such call did not come. And there was another nasty incident which nearly developed into something disastrous. Gaddafi had females as his bodyguard.
Yeah.
And they had effrontery to order our security men to point their guns downwards. They came. They also had instruction. They also had their line of
command and all that.
Command, and they'll try to impose their own security discipline on our security men.
You mean these young ladies are that audacious?
Yes, yeah, they were. And one of them was visibly angry, and it was about to develop something nasty.
Wow.
And there was divine intervention, and nothing of that sort happened. You could see that there was no way the guy was going to listen to a girl, so to speak.
And for that matter, you were a visitor.
You're a visitor. Wow. I remember. So these are some of the things why the media were not as sensational as we are now. That would have provided an angle for the media in those days. But the government in those days, the military government kept a tight leash on the government on the media, apart from being shackled by all kinds of, or being hobbled for all kinds of constraints. And the matter of culture of silence, which were all enveloped. So there was no way to do a story which was put some of such infractions.
That means they were acting like the security detail of the American president.
Sure.
Wow.
Because and I don't know who gave the audacity to dictate to us a statement. And even for waiting for so many hours, Rollins himself was infuriated. Then Rollins was that quick tempered. He had to. He was in his element, of course. And when one journalist photographer stepped on the red carpet, and Rollins had to shout at the top of his voice, "Take off your dirty legs from the red carpet." Because
wow,
we're standing, we're all standing, we're not sitting, we're standing and waiting for Gaddafi. So certainly his temper was thin.
Yeah.
As for us, I said we had no choice. Every business washing was out of the question. I was to wait and fetch a story and serve our listeners.
So, social media, how has it changed the frontiers of journalism practice?
Immeasurably. You can't even measure because in those days, they didn't have social media. And the GBC was the only dominant media house electronically. And so the media scene wasn't as competitive as it is now. Now the media scene can be described as a competitive jungle. And one element which has made it so is social media. And we believe in expanding the frontiers of information. And I think social media has come to complement the traditional media. Social media also give us pegs, and angles to do our stories. Even though fake news, social media are littered with fake news. So one ought to be extra careful, cautious. One needs to inject a higher degree of satisfaction using social media, as I said, because it is not editorially controlled. All kinds of things, all kinds of rubbish are fed in there. But at the same time, that's on the flip side too, as I said, because of the rapidity, because of the speed with which one could express some information, and then social media also have come to add meaning to the right to receive information, right to receive and disseminate information, which is a fundamental human right. So so social media has only given birth to citizen journalism, which has come to say. So it's a welcome development, but at the same time we ought to be very careful traditional media. So my heart bleeds when I see well-trained journalists or traditional media journalists fully prey to social media antics or social media misinformation, disinformation. Because it is said that journalists are trained to doubt. And given the history of social media, fake news, social media and fake news, to a large extent, are less of the same feathers. And so one ought to be extra careful in dealing with social. So as I said, my heart bleeds and bleeds profusely whenever I see traditional media journalists reproducing falsehoods, palpable falsehoods on social media. I think it's a mark of irresponsibility at the highest. So this is something we should always have at the back of mind. We are trained to doubt. Journalists are trained to doubt. So you should question the veracity of any story, regardless of the source, before you use. And some journalists do not subject information they pick from social media to the test of accuracy and other tests which go with our profession.
There are richer bloggers than richer journalists in Africa. When social media created its own set of journalists called bloggers or citizen journalists, a lot of them speedily took advantage, and now some are counting the returns and dividends in millions. Is there something journalists have not done, which is why we have not been able to exact the full potential of social media to our financial advantage?
Certainly, everything is in a flux. Yeah, everything. The world is in like a train. I'm likened to a train which is moving at a supersonic speed, and we need to catch up and be abreast of modern trends. And what you cited reinforces the need for traditional media journalists to fit in, to swim with the tide, in order to reap maximally the benefits of the present environment. So I encourage my colleagues, please, in the local parlance, man must survive, and a survival instinct to push us to explore. So we should always show our innovative spark at all times, if that will work to our financial benefits. Of course, also enhance our outputs as journalists.
Should journalists be licensed?
The answer is a big no.
Okay.
Because our profession is the right to receive and disseminate information is a fundamental human right. That's the reason why we do not frown on citizen journalism. Do not frown on people using basic items like telephone to do stories. Because the media space has become so expansive and it continues expanding. The traditional media journalists cannot be anywhere all the time.
Yeah.
But we are constrained in terms of numbers. We are handicapped in terms of equipment. And so citizen journalists have come to complement what you do. And unfortunately, social media will capture a scene which other traditional media will not get. There was one incident at a bank in Accra where a security officer nearly snatched the life out of a lady who had gone there to take her poultry, 200 cedis.
Yeah, Midland Savings and Loans.
Midland Savings, exactly. Midland Savings. Yes. So it took a citizen journalist to capture this scene, and that led to the public furor and official action. So as we speak, the lady is now a house owner. She also benefited from enough capital to do a business. So we should give thanks not only to officialdom for artists, but also to the citizen journalists who captured the scene and prompted swift action on all fronts. And so this is a plus for citizen journalism and social media in particular.
Okay. If we are to go back into time, 45 years, that is your age today minus 45 years, and you have to make a decision
42.
No, I am saying we are going back 45 years.
Okay.
And you have to make another decision for a profession. Will it still be journalism?
Certainly, yes. As I said, I see it as a calling. And again, I'll describe it as cash deficient. But at least the joy of serving humanity, I can look back and say, okay, in terms of material things, very few things I can boast of. In terms of serving my nation, in service of serving humanity, in service of serving people. That gives me that inner joy. Yes, I was called to this world to help feed people with information, quality information, with which they have made credible, concrete decisions, with which they have shaped their lives and still in this business. And it has a spiritual dimension too. God is a journalist, and no wonder my case to reinforce this point by describing journalism as the best profession in the world. Well, he scripted the 10 Commandments. He gave it to Moses. That was a piece of journalism. And on the day of creation, he said, "Let there be light." It was also broadcasting to the then world. That was broadcast journalism. So this is a profession he called me to do, and until he's a coach, he's a coach, he's the assignment editor. Yeah. So until the assignment editor calls you, you continue to be in the field to do journalism.
What is your assessment of the quality of journalism in Ghana today?
Pluses, lots of pluses, a lot of minuses. But I would say really that the pluses outweigh the minuses. The positives outweigh the negatives. Positives, a litany of them. One is that you can access information anytime, anywhere. In those years when we were political journalism in GBC, I said we are the only electronic medium. Yeah. And when we close, there are also points you hear any news apart from GBC, unless you tune into BBC, of course.
That's true.
And many people were not addicted to listening to BBC, except the elite. And so and I remember the kind of gatekeeping we did, which deprived our listener viewers from listening to the other side of the news. And also, I think it happened yesterday, the kind of restrictions, the fear which was instilled in journalists, the lack of space to be expressive, the lack of space to hold to account people in positions of authority and power. Censorship was at its peak. Peak. And even in terms of ethical discipline, the standard was higher than what pertains now.
But in terms of that ethical discipline you talk about, was that not manipulated by the fear of the controllers of the system? Was that not a product of the fear instilled in journalists?
It was a combination of fear and training. Okay. Training can take two main forms. Training can be by osmosis. In those days, it was fashionable for people to learn on the job. So they also imbibe this training of scrutinizing every piece of information to ensure that it passed the test of accuracy and all that. And it was unthinkable to petty falsehood in those days. It's unthinkable. You could not even imagine putting falsehood unless, of course, statements from officialdom, and which came with express instructions that they should not be cut. Unlike the present environment where the journalist has the latitude to edit, to suit. But in those days, all the social releases came with such instructions: do not cut. And we also had the ritual of leading every bulletin with a head of state. That is, our journalism was rooted the so-called big man journalism, where stories involving big men led the bulletins, regardless of the content. And now the situation has changed. I don't think Jubilee House cannot dictate to any media house that they should lead all their bulletins, the stories on Nana Akufo-Addo, even though he's, in terms of the capacity to make news, he's number one. So the latitude, for one to express himself was negligible in those days. But now we have the freedom. We have the freedom, and we have sources. Listeners and viewers are spoiled choices. We have all kinds of choices, and this also reinforces the point that every story or every issue has two or more sides. But in those days, we're restricted to only one side. So the state-owned media was reduced to one-way megaphone, singing the tune, singing and dancing to the tune of officialdom. Meanwhile, there were all kinds of angles, all kinds of sides, so this is where the positives come in. So now listeners can make their own decisions from multiple sources of information, and you cannot, nothing can be swept under the carpet. And the truth, even though we can, the present situation, gives us a lot of options. The deluge of information, the chaotic fire, but out of this chaotic fire, the truth emerges. And as journalists, ours is to ferret the truth from these multiple sources, and then feed the public, because not everyone is equipped with the ability or capacity to ferret the truth from the chaotic fire. That's where professional journalism comes in. So, and so in terms of accountability, in terms of multiplicity, in terms of pluralism and diversity, yes, the present environment enables journalists to better serve their listeners, viewers, and readers better than yesteryears.
Share with us your golden memories. 4 decades, you have a pot full of golden memories. 4 decades and more. Share with us your golden memories.
I've cited some of them. We get the opportunity to cover heads of state president, and it is not it's not by my own excellence professionally, or wisdom or might. I can say with all humility that this profession has pushed me to the pinnacle of my profession as president. The umbrella body of journalists in Ghana. And I'll give the credit to Gifty Afeyidazi. Gifty is one of the finest gifts from divinity to humanity. She, as the first female president of GJA, she raised the bar, and she called me that she joined the executive, and that was one call which has shaped my life, which has exposed me to all kinds of opportunities. And so from the position of executive member, I had the opportunity to serve as Deputy General Secretary to the Vice President for 2 terms unopposed, and President unopposed first, and President for the second time. An election which was rocked by all kinds of incidents. It ended up in the court, and all kinds of falsehoods were peddled. Fake news, made the rounds, inexorably and because people saw it as an opportunity to slice and dice my character. But the good Lord was with him because he is my refuge. He has been my refuge and my strength. And he found me worthy to serve in that capacity, and which I did to the best of my ability. And I've also had the opportunity to train and mentor. And some of the guys I've mentored are among the best in this country. So it ignites a sense of pride that it's not only good to excel, it's not enough to excel, but in as a student of leadership, I understand the concept of reproduction. You also need to reproduce your own. So just imagine if the media space is littered with quality journalists, just to crystallize into quantitative improvement in our profession, and the public will be better served. And this also propel our nation, our dear nation, to develop at a pace faster than we are witnessing now.
What's your take on Solly?
Our code of ethics is clear on bribery. And see, we need to draw a line of distinction between Solly and bribery. Solly is a short form of solidarity.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we need to square the issue of Solly, the logic of reality. We need to filter this issue through the tight weave of realism. And the reality is that many media houses, or many journalists are poorly paid. Many journalists are handicapped in terms of logistics. Many journalists, you name it. So, for instance, at the state of media where I used to work, GBC is confronted every day on a daily basis about 20 assignments. And meanwhile, there's a limit. They have about 3 or 4 vehicles. We cannot go comb the whole country to do that.
And even the equipment is also limited.
The equipment. So sometimes event organizers are asked to provide vehicles for such assignments to be covered. It's a form of solidarity. So in the absence of transport, and you can imagine how many media houses have enough vehicles to take their journalists around. So so party with 50, let's say 50 cities, 100 cities, to take care of the transport of journalists cannot be attempted or cannot be described as bribery. At the same time, we have some bad nuts in the profession. That's on the flip side. On the flip side, we have some bad nuts in the profession who go to the sense of demanding or charging how much they should be paid before their stories are aired. This is not only unethical, this is also criminal. So the law should deal surgically with perpetrators of such crime to help inject sanity into the system. People who are well paid, ministers, CEOs, when they attend functions or worship, they are given transport allowance. So what is wrong? What is immoral? What is criminal? It's just giving journalists due just to take care of the transport. As I said, but some have commercialized their services, which is this. We should draw a line between commercialism and journalism. The two are not the same. So
but say at the point where you mentioned something like 50 Ghana cedis cannot compromise a journalist. Now,
a journalist is worth far more than 50, 100 cedis. Yes,
I agree.
Every journalist is far worth more than that. You're going to put a price tag on journalists.
Where the event organizer goes chasing the journalist when the story has not been published or was never published because the person took that 50 Ghana cedis. What exactly then is the 50 Ghana cedis supposed to do? What was it supposed to do? Was it just some support for transport, or it was supposed to be an unspoken payment for publication?
There are certain assignments which go with payments, like commercial assignment. All the media houses, yes, we specify. For instance, if the airlines, something which have commercial
value
element, you can easily see. Yes, you can easily see. They pay for airtime or they pay for space, print space. But those assignments are specified. But assignment for the public, just like a press conference by electoral commission to announce the date for election, this is something which affects all of us.
It's public service.
Why should public service journalism? So public service journalism, should occupy a special place in all media houses. We should prioritize it. It's something we cannot do without. If we look at it, the fact is that some commercial media houses do more public service even than state-owned media.
Yes.
Yes. So this should be the spirit. This should be the spirit. So such assignment. I remember when there's one press conference by the then Vice President Aka.
Okay.
President Aka, when news broke that Rawlings had beaten him. That was the reporter who covered it at the State House. And he spoke for only 9 minutes.
Okay.
No questions. So I recorded, and that was a highly sensitive, hypersensitive story. Because in those days, the media sales were opening up a bit. Because we had got multi-party democracy. That was after we had said goodbye to the bullet horse and embraced the ballot box. Even though we were not perfect, we were trying to prove our democratic path. So after the press conference, I said to myself, I wouldn't even attempt to edit this story. So I did a narration. And there was no transport. I had to walk from the State House with my Uber, that heavy machine.
Wow.
Yes, the heavy machine, bulky, heavy machine from State House straight to the newsroom. I did a narration and played everything. Played no trouble.
You don't want any trouble.
I didn't want. So I played everything, and then that was it. And in those days, it's only because I said we're not totally free, even though freedom was creeping in at a serious pace. And those were the days when government officials were editing stories involving His Excellency Flight and Rawlings. Because Rawlings could not be controlled. Rawlings was synonymous with verbal diarrhea, and so Rawlings could just see anything, and then so one needed to edit
and try and manage him.
Yes, so those are the days when editors themselves were being edited, and those who were editing editors were also editing J.J. Rawlings' stories and insects. So that was the environment. So we came a long way from those days when they were shackled by all kinds of laws and hobbled by all kinds of constraints.
Let's go to Ghana Journalists Association, your time as the helmsman of the association that organizes or oversees issues concerning journalists in Ghana. First of all, what would you say is the most outstanding achievements of your regime as president of the GJA?
I have a policy not to blow my own horn, but one question of all, I'll ring my own bell. And because I see self-praise as inconsistent with my belief, and also incongruous with my personality. But in such situations, who am I? You are the boss. You are calling the shots. So it is said that journalists, Joseph Pulitzer, who made these statements, and it sounded so controversial to the extent that he was pelted with all kinds of verbal stones for igniting this controversy when he said journalists are educated and not born. And
say that again.
Journalists are educated and not born. By Joseph Pulitzer. About 300 years ago, in those days, it was fashionable for journalists to be trained by osmosis to train them on the job. We didn't have the luxury of well-structured institutions, luxury of universities which were offering courses in journalism. So most journalists, and now some of our best journalists trained by osmosis, trained on the job.
Yes.
And so when Pulitzer said journalists are educated or born, unsurprisingly, he said or put on a line, and what is happening now has vindicated and will continue to vindicate the rectitude of that statement, that journalists are indeed educated and not born. So when we bemoan the perpetration of mediocrity, when we bemoan the high rate of ethical indiscipline, the cynical disdain, the greasy disregard for our own code of ethics. And in certain media houses, journalism now can be described as a standardless profession. Profession without standard. And I ask that all this reinforces the need to train, and retrain. When police and journalists are educated, there's a need for us. So the standards, the professional standard that we all yearn to see, the qualitative improvement, the mastery, the analysis, the editorial expertise, what we want to see, the editorial craftsmanship. We all desire to see, some of us have been exposed to, are not the product of happenstance. They are the fruit of education or training. So the mantra should be seeking first training, and others shall be added to it. So in terms of, I'm making this a reference to what the question you asked. We, under my presidency, we signed an MOU with Natal University, which is still running. And at that MOU, we have trained more than 1,200 journalists free of charge. And all the graduate and advanced diploma in communication and leadership, free of charge. You know how costly it is to access education now. So realize that no, this is one area we need to sharpen our focus on. And thank God this program took up successfully. It has been running for the past 6 or 7 years. And as we tomorrow, the Vienna batch will go through this training critical, they are trained in critical thinking, which journalists need. They are trained in ethics, and they are trained in leadership. They are trained in other disciplines which will be of benefit to their profession. And one other critical area is the remuneration of journalists.
Yes.
And there's a direct correlation between four conditions and output of journalists.
Yes.
So if in certain instances the outputs have been abysmal, you can trace the causal factor to the conditions of service. So we saw the need to unionize the Ghana Journalists Association. Mom, this unionized baby had been incubating for decades until I took over as president. But so when we came, during my first term, made sure that we unionized the GJA. So now the GJA can serve as an intermediary between journalists and their employees as far as service conditions are concerned. And we've also given exposure. For the first time, we entered into agreement, partnership with a number of embassies, Chinese embassy, Kansai US embassy, Kansai embassies, under which journalists were exposed to foreign trips for them to have the necessary exposure, which can also enhance their output. So this also happened. So all the regions, and one thing about administration, nothing was Accra-centric. Nothing was concentrated in Accra. All the regions were involved. And we've also, in line with our drive to empower and the regions, and also get them to catch up in terms of programs, in terms of advancement, journalistically. All the regional branches are vibrant, as you can imagine. And the GJA is as strong and vibrant as the branches and members make it. And to the extent that now the branches regionally can now, they can now organize their own awards, and they are organizing their own awards. And their presence is very much felt. Well, I guess yes, when everything was concentrated in Accra. So this I believe this is a big plus for association. And we've apart from training and empowerment, we've also contributed immeasurably to our democratic advancement. It is rooted in theory and ingrained in practice that democracy is impossible without the media. So if today the Ghanaian media are a reference point, and if today our democracy is a standard measure for others, look at what's happening in our neighboring countries. The media should be credited with our democratic advancement. And then so we with the assistance from US Embassy, before election and after elections, the National Peace Council also have a regional National Peace Council, under which we roll out train journalism, in peace journalism, and also the democratic tenet of democracy and all that. So if today Ghana is at peace, if today Ghana is a shining example of peace, the media are highly credited with this sterling achievement. The media play a critical role because they create platforms for people to ventilate their concerns, articulate their views, apart from holding to account people in positions of power. In jurisdictions where people do not have the freedom to ventilate their concerns, they channel them through examples of instability. So look at what is happening in every country, other countries, where the media are not free. So again, because of the training, constant training in peacemaking, in democracy, tell them. I remember in one of our in 2016, 2008, 2016, when the tensions were so high, when you could feel, you could tell something nasty was going to happen.
Yeah.
We had with assistance from the Electoral Commission and the U.S. Embassy, went around all the countries speaking to journalists, taking them through guidelines of electoral reporting. And in one of the encounters with the journalists, I told them, no, let's put the guidelines aside and let's think through the consequences of only one piece of misreporting. What this could do for this nation. It happened in Rwanda. It took a reckless journalist who went on a reckless station to make a reckless statement. Yeah. And within weeks, hundreds of people were killed in horrendous circumstances. Yeah. This is an example of misuse, reckless use of the media. So here, gentlemen, here we are. We have a choice to either save this nation, pull this nation from the precipice of disaster. We cannot see, we cannot feel it. We are teaching. We are teaching towards a disaster of unthinkable consequences. Gentlemen, so please think through the consequences of whatever you put out. And we're looking at me. And this message was replicated in other areas. Before then, in 2016, the Commonwealth Observer Group, led by Thabo Mbeki, former president of South Africa, they summoned me to a meeting, and then he said, gentlemen, from our analysis, from the report I've received, the media are the major threat. The media could make Ghana as far as election 2016 was concerned. Gentlemen, what can you do? So I told them, apart from I believe in prayer, God can do the impossible. What is impossible with man is possible with God. But at the same time, we also need to shape the media. We know what to talk to them. It's not a question of we all have our voting patterns, but for the first time, our voting patterns should not dictate how we should do our work. Ghana first. So it was this Ghana first message and mantra, which were taken round, getting the gospel of Ghana first, saving the nation, while at the same time praying. Some churches also came around, some believers came around. Whilst praying, we also conscientizing journalists, taking them through. So today, if the democracy is now a standard measure, now a reference point. If a democracy, if we have challenges, because when it comes to democracy, no country is purer than pure. If America with all their centuries of democratic practice, we also what happened in the last election. So it's a process and not a destination. But the point I would like to make on your platform is that we should never be satisfied with our present contribution to democracy as a media system. We should never be intoxicated by our achievements as far as democracy is concerned, no matter how narcotic the tendency is. Narcotic in the sense that we've done elections for 8 times. So, automatically the next election, not at all. Not at all. So, again, journalists, wherever they find themselves, should weigh the consequences, think through, the implications of whatever they put out. It's not enough to put out the information which is factual. Not at all. you need to think through. So it's, journalism is and democracy, as I said, they go together. One is because democracy, which has given this environment, the liberal environment to practice journalism. At the same time, we have also served as the backbone of democracy and the oxygen. We are continuing to serve as the oxygen of democracy. So once this oxygen is cut off, we all suffocate, and extinction will be our lot.
Sir, there is a new GJA president, and it was glaring during his swearing in that you were not there. You were absent, glaringly absent. Tell us, but we were expecting that you, being the man who is leaving office, you would be in there to do a proper, handover. Although we know there was a handover which was done before the swearing in, but at least
after the swearing in.
After the swearing in.
Yeah.
Yes, but at least protocol-wise, your presence was expected. What happened?
But I was the chairman of the planning committee for the handover.
Okay.
On the eve of handover, we met. I was crafting my speech, and maybe around 4 p.m., a bailiff came around, or a team of bailiffs came around to attempt to serve the GJA, or to scatter the handover ceremony, or to place an injunction, in bigger terms, place an injunction in the handover ceremony. And and that invited scores, batteries of reporters to the press center, and were reporting live. So I referred the incident to the GJA lawyer and other lawyers, and they advised that I keep away from the event. So I shared it. We had a platform. I shared it with others. But what they actually pushed the platform, they sent WhatsApp messages, which I can produce at all times, which I've been reproducing. That in order not to fall foul of the law, we should hold on until the issue was addressed. And arrangements were made to hold the event, and so I didn't go. I bid the lawyers, our own lawyers, and the event took place, minus me, obviously. And so the following week, I made time to do the handover, and that has been the story since then. The issue, as you speak, is in court. I was told that they called the case this last week, and they called the case again. I don't know when. So this is where we are as far as the case is concerned. Upon the advice of our lawyers, I deem it wise to play it safe. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not been to any law school. I'm a stark illiterate as far as the law is concerned. And those who knew the law advised otherwise. And others who they had also had a contrary legal opinion, and the event took place.
In 2017, you came under fire from some civil society organizations after you issued a press statement cautioning the media against trying local businesses on air or through their reports. Indeed, some of the civil society organizations like the Media Foundation for West Africa, they took the position that your actions smack of the fact that you are in bed with suspicious businesses. Were you attacking investigative journalism, or that instruction or advice was misunderstood?
Every issue has two or more sides. And we live in a country where people tend to refract all kinds of issues in all kinds of lenses. And who are you to stop them? Ours is a liberal society, free-wheeling system, where people do all kinds of things. But from hindsight, I believe I did what was professionally righteous.
Okay.
Because we, I think journalists are not purer than pure. Oh, yes. Journalists are not whiter than white. So, and having been in this profession for 42 years, I know some journalists who will go to any length just to do or to do the bidding of others. Others, you know, we want to settle scores with others. But I'm not implying that it's not my nature to go after people to peddle falsehood or try to sing the song of any business. No, not at all. So the tendency to misread that statement was so high, and the tendency to do it again is still high, if not highest than what it used to be. So this is the first time I've questioned journalists. One thing journalists found upon. I mean, there was a time we did a story, we issued a statement against one newspaper, a very popular newspaper, and they did not take kindly to that. No, journalists, no, but it's more punitive than imposing the heaviest fine on journalists or media houses if you name and shame them. And meanwhile, we have a duty to sometimes bring our own people to book. That's the mark of leadership. And just like if you're a father and your children misbehave, sometimes you can reprimand them, sometimes you can, but they still remain your children. So I've nothing against any journalist. And so there was a time I can cite so many instances, but we don't have a luxury of time to accommodate. We've done a lot of back channel negotiations, interventions. We have a journalist. We have the journalists who had peddled falsehood, who had palpably infringed upon the law, who had violated blatantly our own code of ethics, who in simple terms, were candidates for prosecution. But we have stood in, we have pleaded, and we have secured their freedom. And so they tell them, but when the people go wrong, tell them public. But that's as I said, one thing they found upon is reprimanding them publicly. So you have to do it subtly, you have to do, use a lot of wisdom. But at the same time, the fact is that we are human, and like all human institutions, all human professions, perfection is an impossible goal. So we also have a fair share of imperfections, but by virtue of the fact that we occupy a moral high ground, we hold people to account. Does not negate the fact that does not obscure the fact that we also have a short. I said we are human, so we are prone to making mistakes. So when sometimes our mistakes are exposed, we do not take kindly to that at all. And so this is the story. So we should learn to be accountable. So the media system should be a crucible not only for responsibility, but also accountability and professionalism. And this has been my goal since the one when I entered this profession.
Some journalists hold it against you that will not be the first time you made statements or pronouncements that put you in the light as though you were against the interests of journalists. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
In 2014, when the unfortunate incident involving the presidential press corps happened, where unfortunately we lost Samuel Niyama, God bless his soul. One of the journalists who was on the bus, Napoleon Atukito, said that the driver looked inexperienced, but he was speeding, which was why that accident might have occurred. A presidential staffer came to contradict him, and you took sides with the presidential staffer, much to the annoyance of a lot of journalists who felt that you, as the helmsman of journalists, if truly their welfare was your priority, then you should not be singing from someone else's song sheets.
Again, this is one issue which was distorted, which was refracted in terms of partisan lenses, and the truth is, one issue came out that the journalist had Norman had died.
Yes.
And the allegation was that officialdom hired a rickety vehicle.
Yes.
Which was not fit for purpose for the media crew to use. So my reaction was that we will hold government to account for the life of Norman. If it was proven that they treated the presidential press corps so sharply, in the sense of hiring a vehicle, hiring a rickety vehicle, a vehicle which was not fit for purpose to convey journalists to cover that assignment. I came out publicly on Joy FM and other networks that will not sleep, not keep mute until the investigations were done and the truth came out. That was the initial statement. That was followed by we have a way of doing cross-checking, doing our investigations. I did my investigations. I spoke to sources, including presidential, some of the journalists who were on the bus.
Okay.
Yes, who were on the bus. I spoke to them. Yes. And what they told me was that all the journalists were in seatbelt except Norman. They were all in the seatbelt except Norman. And I went to the Jubilee House, also did my investigations. And I was told that they hired a vehicle from a recognized agency which was operating at Labadi Beach Hotel. I had the contacts of the operators. I did my investigation. So that story, that angle, that somebody went to a petrol station and just picked up so I was interviewed. I had a P7. I'm interviewed by one of the presenters. Someone said he saw me at Tamamoto, pushing, and I didn't have a vehicle, so I went to a Jubilee House to pay for a vehicle. I said, when issues crop up, they are reflecting all kinds of. So you see, for just and the president of the press corps, parliamentary press corps, also came out to vindicate a side of the story. That it's not true that the vehicle which was hired for them was not roadworthy. It wasn't true that the vehicle was not roadworthy. It was being peddled all over that the vehicle was not roadworthy. They just went to go station or something, and maybe a catchy whole station bus something. So you see, generally. So therefore, just sometimes you get bashed for saying the truth. The truth can be unpalatable. So that when people had formed, people that had done their stories, and people had made up their minds in a certain way, and these are some of the hazards. These are some of the hazards of leadership. So leadership is I've been a student of leadership. And the leader, apart from privileges, yes, there are also perils of leadership. And some of these bashes are some of the perils of leadership. So when it came, I said, no. I knew I had done my, between me and my God, I had done my work. I investigated I wasn't on a bus. So don't tell me that Tikito, so the guy told me that Tikito was sleeping. And then normal alone was not in a seatbelt. So that's accounted for that unfortunate incident. And later on, I had to follow up on their, again, it was peddled that they hadn't received their compensation. And I did my investigations. I was told, if I went to former President John Mahama himself, and he told me, no, it's not true. Because as a leader, the welfare of my people was and still is of paramount concern. And this, I went to everybody. So because sometimes when people do not hear what they don't want to hear, no Ghanaians, everything is, as I said, people look at. So this is what happened. I still stand by my statement, and I believe with the confluence of time, I've been proven right.
Another incident that happened, then you were GJA president, you were also a senior management staff of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. When a staff of GBC was assaulted by a presidential staffer, a lot of journalists felt that this was a litmus test for you with the dual role of a senior staff of GBC and also GJA president to demand that justice is done in the matter. Unfortunately, the GJA never said a word, not even the usual press statement came out. GBC also did not say a word. The reporter was left in the cold. It was the Media Foundation for West Africa that even replaced his broken recorder. Why did you throw your reporter under the bus?
Again, this has no factual foundation. This is an account which lacks factual foundation. It is not true at all. Yaya Kwamwa was a mentee, a son, and a subordinate.
Okay.
I was at 37 Military Hospital. Yaya Kwamwa, Monney Kwamwa, Sandogbe, and Mpuni.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we had gone before there was a story. There's a story on Peace FM that I was on caring that I'd not been to the hospital. I had been to the hospital. I was there. 37. What's the story? So journalists, when I say they are not purer than pure, other than white. This is what I mean. A journalist lie. It is not only a sin against the profession, it's also a blasphemy against God. Perpetration of falsehood should never, any story which has no fragile foundation any story on account of an event which lacks substratum of fact should not be used at all. But here we are, that I had not been to 37. I was not well. But when the incident happened, I had to jump on some, I had to hire somebody's vehicle. I begged him to give me a lift to 37 hospital. I was not well, but I had to go there. Number one, it's not true that I didn't go to the hospital. I was there. So I was there when the incident happened, when Sandobe, but they asked the Sandobe and Monney and then communication minister, Tony, were in the conversation. Yeah, in the conversation. And we are going to visit them. So certainly, no journalists out to fish for news, smell, wherever that. So wherever Sandobe and Monney maybe. So Yakoma had his reporter try to extract something exclusive from them. So they asked him to excuse them because they were discussing something sensitive, which was not meant for the public. I was standing around. Yaya Kwama refused to move. So Sandobe snatched the recorder and then seized the recorder and smashed it. I saw it. It is not true that I did not come out. You can check, you can do your checks at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. I use our own medium. I, Affail Monney, use the medium of Ghana Broadcasting Corporation to condemn the incident. You can find out, you can check to condemn the incident. It was aired. We held a press conference. We held a press conference, Lisa, at the Ghana International Press Center to condemn the incident. I was there when Yaya Kwama was giving cash. Those are 1,000 cities. So I remember that some hefty amounts to replace the machine.
He was given by who?
It was given by I think the Jubilee House.
Okay.
Yes. I was there. I was present. So in fact, I handed over to him by Don Cheke, the then Director General of GBC. Okay. I was present. You can find it from Yakwama. So you see, when people are not armed, in fact, they can say all kinds of things. Just to tarnish, to put in a certain light that you are uncaring, you are this, you are insensitive. Apart from the three examples, negative issues you see, and to me they are not. There are counter examples where I have stood in for journalists. Let me give you just one of them. When two cameramen were beating the full glare of the public at Independence Square.
Yes.
By soldiers. I went to Burma camp. I met the CDS Kwashi then, and then Militia Command, and they apologized profusely for what they did. No, though it was alien for the military to apologize for their disease.
You wouldn't even think of it.
Yes, they did apologize. And then they asked the reporters how much they were prepared to take as compensation. I was there. And the reporters were giving money. I was there. We never reported it.
Another incident.
They were compensated.
Or some other incidents. A number of journalists were attacked in the line of duty while you were in office. Efia Pokua of Adom FM, Latif Abubakar of Multimedia Group, right in front of the police headquarters by police officers. You see, the thinking or the position of a number of journalists out there is that the GJA under your watch brought out more news releases than concrete actions when they needed to act.
We did what? The GJA did what?
you brought out more news releases to condemn some of those things than really taking concrete actions to pacify the journalists as much as they should. In the case of Lateef Abubakar, what did the GJA do and how did it end? Because I'm not sure every journalist in Ghana seemed to have closure on that particular matter, which was an excruciating experience, really.
Lateef Abubakar is a son. And after this interview, I will plead that you get in touch with him.
I will.
And then he will tell you the length I went to secure justice for me. Lateef will tell you. Yes. And I'm in touch with Lateef. Constantly, I'm in touch with Lateef. I've been to his house. We condemned the incident in total. I followed up with a meeting with Appeal 2 IGP then.
Then, yes.
Yes. I set up, I had a one-on-one with Appeal 2. And he made it clear that there was no point the police could identify the perpetrators of that criminal act, and that they're prepared to give pay compensation. Either this is an encounter I had with the IGP. So we said, and so I told pointedly that we're not interested in compensation, we're interested in justice.
Yes.
Well, the incident happened right at the citadel
of law enforcement.
Law enforcement. How come that you cannot do identity parade to get to smoke out the perpetrators? After he left or he was replaced, he kept on. Gabi took with her with the new IGP,
Dr. Dampare.
Yes, Dr. Dampare. So this tells you that this is something I'll be following.
But were you giving a chronicle of some of these activities through updates so that the media will know this is going on? That is where the gap or the missing link is.
So when people make up their minds, see, and see. So but I know that all kinds of forces, all kinds of interest groups in the media space, all kinds of interest groups. And some will try to paint in a certain light, some will try. Meanwhile, the example or the few examples you have cited, there are counter examples where I hate
blowing your own
my own horn. Yes, I hate doing that. But only unless when I'm pushed, I ring my small bell. I said an example of what we did at Burma camp. Journalists were compensated. We never came out. Some P2, I've met him. Dampare, I've met him. And what came out of that meeting was that the police have set up a special unit to help resolve all the cases you have cited. Lateef, this guy,
Ahmed Swale,
the
rest.
Yes. So Dr. Dampare said they set up a special unit to help unearth the circumstances surrounding these instances, the murder and brutalities and all that. So this is something, because I said that when a single journalist is beaten, all of us are beaten. When a single journalist is hurt, as a leader of the association, my heart bleeds. And even though I'm still not in office, my heart is still bleeding profusely as a result of some of these unresolved incidents. And my heart will continue to bleed until something concrete is done to ensure justice. And so it's only justice, even still not in office. It will only take justice to stanch the blood flow. So again, this is not somebody who is insensitive to some of these things. Not at all. As Lateef,
How will you describe the GJA under your presidency? Was it only interested in organizing annual awards to celebrate hardworking journalists, or it was championing the welfare of journalists? And if really the latter is the case, what was his definition of championing the welfare?
I made reference to the Pulitzer philosophy. Journalists, but this philosophy which propelled and influenced what we did. I told you that we've under an arrangement with NASFOT, which is funny. Again, you can verify 1,200 or more journalists free of charge in advanced journalism, free of charge. Never the history of the GJA. Never free of charge. Tomorrow, there'll be classes. And go to NASFOT tomorrow to go and find out. There'll be classes free of charge for journalists. 4 categories. Free, just walk in, register, and come and learn. Free of charge. We're the first unionized association because we believe that it's not easy to negotiate with your employees. Many of our people do not even have employment letters. Let alone negotiate. Yeah. For the first time, we've unionized the GJA. For the first time, we have insured our members. For the first time in the history, it's Sahar insurance company, also verified. For the first time, we have insured all our members. For the first time in the history of GJA, all journalists who covered the 2020 elections were insured. Recall that some Queenie and others, Queenie had his leg fractured. Yeah. SIC paid 40,000 plus. Those who had their phones missing were replaced under the insurance cover we had with SIC for the first time in the history of the association. This are all rooted in welfareism. No, we're driven by the welfare of journalists to do all this. So when people tell us we are only interested in awards, the facts do not support this allegation. This allegation should not fly. Because, who will tell me, was GJ unionized before we came? No. Did you have insurance policy? No. Elections, for the first time, people go. We covered them, they were all covered. All those who covered 2020 elections, SIC, and the casualties were paid. There was a ceremony to pay them. I was there. I signed the MOU. Free education. Before free SHS, we had our free free. So when awards, and when it comes to awards, we raise the bar, giving out SUVs. The last award winner, car, we raise the bar, and that's what. So this ought to motivate journalists. There is not enough to demon perpetration of mediocrity. I believe when journalists are motivated more, and this motivation crystallizes into qualitative improvement in their work. So the fact that we are not just Latif, and then Ahmed Swale. It's interesting to know if some journalists were against us coming out to condemn what happened to Ahmed Swale. I went to CNN. I went to the scene where he was killed with CNN that very day. Did a report to condemn. We held a press conference. Some journalists said, we should keep it. Ahmed Swale wasn't part of it, wasn't a journalist. But we defied that. Did a press conference. I rallied international organizations, International Federation of Journalists. They came to our aid. They issued a statement. Journalists to protect journalists. They issued a statement. All the international organizations, they came out before I could even read my speech, they were on my neck. They were on my neck before I could read my, because they wanted the action we are taking. And the actions were encapsulated in the speech. So I had to send the speech to them before I could read it. IIJ, they were on my name and others. So
why is GJA membership not mandatory for journalists?
Well, it's a voluntary organization. It's a voluntary association. So you cannot be enshrining law that all journalists should belong to GJA, even though if you join, your insurance cover is assured. The association is now unionized, so they can serve as an intermediary between you and your employer in terms of salary and conditions of service, something which wasn't in existence before we came. So when people decide to look at even what they look at has no factual basis. That we do not condemn my outcome. It's not true. The outcome was I condemned it. Did a press conference. He collected money, and then Swale, example, Latif will tell you, find out from Latif what we have done, the extent to which Latif will tell you that yes, that this is no, because as I said, I am very reticent when it comes to blow my I don't believe in that. No, I don't believe in that. I believe in action, and whether, for instance, what we did for the journalists who were compensated by military. Nobody has published it, but what our joy was that the journalists were compensated and they're satisfied. They were asked, could you imagine then how much do you want us to pay you? They should take their own compensation. It happened at Bemaka.
Let me put a brace here.
Yeah.
This interview and conversation obviously is going to stir a number of reactions. I'm sure some of the people who also hold contrary issues against you or your office.
Because they can go to Bemaka to find out whether yes, we really intervened. I'm explaining what we did, Latif, Apetu, and then even President IGP.
Yeah.
About the special unit being set up to help resolve all the outstanding issues. They can all find out. This is something we'll be doing. They can find out.
This has been PENSDOWN. Today, the big man himself, immediate past president, Ghana Journalists Association, Affail Monney. He was a very busy man until he went on retirement to rest a little after so many years of dedicated service. And thankfully, he has honored us with his presence on this platform where we talk journalism journeys. The issues have been a lot. His own life as a journalist, and then his office as president of journalists in Ghana. Thanks for being with us, sir. We are truly grateful and humbled and honored by your presence.
It's a pleasure talking to you. And as journalists, we should always make it a point to look at two or more other sides. We should not, instead of one-sided reporting, is irresponsible journalism. And we should move away from one-sided reporting. And this is something, okay, what's the other side? Was competent, nobody said it. We did a press conference, nobody is referring to the press conference, only referring to what Media Foundation. Even Media Foundation, they gave their donation to me and I gave it to the They were there. When after we had done, we had sorted him out.
This has been PENSDOWN, an exciting edition by every mile. You can never have enough of him. He has an extensive repertoire of knowledge and experience in the media. And he's given us thoughts, perspective, and ideas on a number of issues affecting journalists and the media generally. We'll be back next time with another edition. We'll have another colleague join us to talk their journalism journey. Thanks for joining us, and bye for now.